So there's the good old saying that do the things that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Isn't that what we would all want to do? However, one of the things I have realized is passion projects tend to not last a very long time. And I have been able to navigate a couple of passion projects myself, so I know for a fact that this really tends to happen. In my early 20s, one of the businesses that I started up, I had a jewelry business. So I used to repurpose old plastic bottles, old wire, and I used to use this and I would make this really beautiful jewelry. I would also work with fabric, African fabric that I would get from local tailors just downtown in Kampala, and I would use that and I would make all these very nice pieces, and I loved them because it was a creative outlet for me. I would literally spend hours on end, like sitting. Have you ever sat for like 12 hours and it would get to like 6, 7 o'clock, it would get dark in my room and I would not even want to stand up to go turn on the light because I was so invested in this project. Since I was using a lot of waste to turn them into very beautiful and creative pieces, one may ask themselves, how come this business did not take far? Because it had all the aspects of promising that you could think of. So today I want us to break down some of the mistakes that I made in my own passion project that you could be making in yours, and maybe you could pick a thing or two on how you can be able to make some changes that could help you to take your passion project in the right direction. One of the issues with my project was I had unclear goals and unclear objectives. I was not quite clear on who my customer was, how many products I wanted to sell a month, what my targets were in terms of creation, how many products should I be having on a monthly basis. So since I was in school at the time at the university, I would only make products whenever I had time, and then I would make as many as I could, and whenever I needed to sell, I'll just pick from those. Now there came a time when maybe a customer would come in and ask me for some product and I would not have any because probably I've not made some in a while. And since my times were quite uncertain, I didn't have a clear timeline on when I'm going to have a product next. So if you're thinking about having a passion project, be clear on what your target is. If let's say you want to meet 100 clients in a month, make products that are enough for 100 clients. And if you've kind of run through already your friends and your family, then it means you need to map out a clear strategy for more clients so you can be able to reach your goal. Another big problem that I had was a lack of resource planning. As I mentioned earlier, my resources were basically waste materials. So I would collect water bottles, I would collect wire. Now wire I actually got because I joined a renewable energy company while I was still at the university, and they would have a lot of wire they would cut up while making solar installations. So the leftover wire is what I would get, and then I would be able to use that to create my pieces. Then I also used to use fabric leftover from, local tailors. Now the challenge with that is my resources were directly dependent on people and the work that they did. Meaning, if they were not doing this work, I would not have resources at all to do my products. So you need to be very clear on how am I going to be able to source for my resources so that I can be able to effectively run a consistent business. Whenever I would go to town, sometimes you'd go to pick up a fabric to use, and maybe you would find the pieces you got this time were so small you could not even be able, because they would already be cut up in pieces, and then I would have to cut them some more to size them up and make product out of them. But if they were already too small, then they were quite useless and I would not be able to use them for anything. Sometimes you also would find the pieces were not as appealing, they were not beautiful, they were not colorful, so they were not efficient for me to use in the time being. So those created some setbacks for me in terms of consistent supply of product for my business. However, when you look at the side of, let's say if I was to purchase, it was quite costly, and I think I didn't do a proper resource mapping of, let's say, where can I get good product that I can be able to use as raw material to be able to make these things. So it was quite challenging when, let's say, I had to buy wire. If you were to buy like a whole strip of wire just to cut it for jewelry, it was so expensive and so wasteful. So my reliance on waste really made things quite difficult for me. Although they were actually a very good sales strategy and they were good for the environment, it was not good in terms of consistency for the business. Customer mapping. So as I mentioned earlier, while I was still at the university, that's when I was starting out on that project. Now, I quickly went through my friends and my family, and I wasn't very clear on who I was trying to sell these products to. Now, if I was doing that right now, I would really be very clear on who I'm selling these accessories to. What types of jobs do they do? What types of products do they buy? What's the price range they usually buy such products, so that I can position myself better? And where do they go? Do they go to church? Are they going to supermarkets? Like, where are they going? All this information would have really helped me, but at the time, that's not what I was processing. So if you're doing a passion project, it's the same as someone who's really running a business very seriously. There is nothing like doing things lukewarm. If you're doing it, you're either doing it or you're not. Be very clear on your customer. Get exactly the information you need that is going to help you to feed into your sales strategy, so that you can be able to meet your client whenever you want to. And then also, it's also going to help you when you're pricing your products, because then you'll price at a really good price. You're not going to downplay yourself. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Let's first jump into labor. The other challenge that I had was finding labor. In case I had a very big order, it was very hard for me to find skilled labor to implement this project, because this is an idea that popped into my head. No training, no nothing. It was clearly an innovation that I came up with. So I failed to find people who are very interested, that could be involved in this project, that I could be able to train so that they could also be creating the products that I was making. So if I had a very big order, I could only rely on myself to make those, and that was very time consuming and very exhausting. However, if I had like 10 people who could be able to make these things, we could just kind of distribute the work, and then we'll be able to do that easily. So don't be the only brain behind the product you're creating. Have some sort of system to train more and more people to do what you can do. Sometimes I know when people are getting innovative, they want to keep ideas to their own selves, and it's a temptation, but do not be tempted. Let that idea out of your head, train more people, and let them know what you can do. This is going to help you in terms of scaling up. You're not going to be only meeting a few customers. You want to have clear targets, clear goals, remember? So make sure you can be able to meet those goals with product anytime someone makes an order. Finally, let's talk about costing. As I mentioned earlier, I found it really hard to cost my product because I was getting this out of waste. I clearly didn't look at the value that they were creating for my customers. So for me, since it was a passion project, I was more than happy that someone was buying something from me. And I think that's not how business people operate. Like, people literally put in the least effort into things and they reap a lot, because they can be able to strategize on the value that they're creating for customers, and they put a proper cost to it. So now you need to be very clear. How much is my skill set worth? How much is my time worth? How much is my investment worth? Price the products well. It goes back to what we say. Identify how much your customers are buying similar products for. Be in the same range. Don't go so low. You're just happy that someone has bought from you and that's it. No, that's not enough. If you want to really benefit from this as a business, then you have to have a clear costing plan, incorporating all your goals, whatever, put it in there, and make sure you get the most out of the product. Now, I hope this has been helpful for you. If you've made similar mistakes as myself, please give those stories to us in the comment section below, because I'm sure very many people are learning out there. But most importantly, share this with a friend who is trying to set up a project for their own selves. This will be very, very helpful and very enlightening for them. And I hope you can give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe, because I want to see more of you. Thank you guys for watching. Until the next video.